share, recipe share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share. Recipe Share, Recipe Share. Share a little recipe with Recipe Share.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Recipe Share, a program on AADL TV where we take a few minutes to talk about recipes in a featured category. Today's category is pleasant potatoes. I'm Katie, and as usual, I'm joined by Beth and Elizabeth to tell us about their recipes. So, Elizabeth, tell us what you made.
Thank you, and I will. My recipe comes from a cookbook that I have held up before called Foolproof Vegetarian One Pot. I had to return it, so I don't have it to hold up today, but I really liked it because it grouped the recipes by the different pots that you would use. So like there was like a skillet chapter and a baking dish chapter and a Dutch oven chapter. So it was kind of cool. So this was a really easy recipe in a baking dish. So what you do is you take a butternut squash, peel it, cut it into, bite-size-ish chunks. Put that in the baking dish. You also quarter 6 shallots and toss that in together, and then drizzle with olive oil, salt, and pepper, and just pretty much roast it until it's not quite done. So that depends kind of on your oven and everything, but it was like, I can't even remember. I made this a while ago, but somewhere around, I have the recipe, but somewhere around 30-35 minutes. Then you take a pack or two, depending on your ratio preference, of gnocchi, and you add that in and you put it back in the oven for, it doesn't take super long, like 10, 12 more minutes. And the gnocchi gets kind of crispy, which is cool and really yummy. And in the meantime, you've taken some goat cheese and stirred it together with hot water and the zest of a lemon. And I have never done this, but you're kind of making the like sauce, and I used a fork, and it took a few minutes, but it got really smooth. And then as soon as it comes out of the oven, you drizzle the goat cheese lemon kind of water sauce over it and toss everything together, and it's really nice. And then you're supposed to top with, there are a few options, some fresh sage if you have it, or dried worked too. I have a photo here of what it looks like when I've served it in the baking dish. And it was really easy, really good. I like baking gnocchi a lot because I like how it gets crispy. This is kind of a new to me technique. I usually just boil it, but I think I did a recipe ages ago where I baked it from the New York Times cooking, and it worked out really well, and I really like this too. And it's not a great summer recipe, definitely more fall vibes. I made this several months ago when it was still like cooler out. But it was really good and really easy. I love this cookbook. Like, I wish I had more to say, but I don't. It's just super simple. Probably like throwing it together took a total of like 10 minutes of work on my end. Just the biggest thing was just, peeling and putting the squash together. So it was really good. And I know Beth is a big goat cheese gal. And for me, I love goat cheese too, but sometimes if you're doing it in chunks, I feel like it doesn't get evenly distributed. So this was a really cool thing for me to kind of use the warm water to make it, I guess, more like liquid, and then the lemon zest. And then it really did coat everything, and it was delicious. So that's my potato recipe. And I think gnocchi is a really good alternative sometimes to just like pasta, which I get tired of. And obviously more accessible for folks who can't eat regular pasta. So yeah, I enjoyed it. And that's my pleasant potatoes.
That's
Sounds
off.
yummy.
Yeah, it was off. It sounds delicious. First of all, gnocchi, I don't think about it much, but I'm going to because that sounds really yummy. The squash, you can buy it already cubed. That would make it so easy. But yeah, that goat cheese. Now I could see doing that with like even a potato salad.
Mm.
And you've just opened up a whole new world of goat cheese sauce for me.
I agree. That's definitely like the highlight of that recipe for me. It was very interesting, the whole thing, but I'm very focused on this goat cheese lemon sauce and what exactly we can do with this. So thank you. That's great.
Yeah,
I'm also very impressed that you went with gnocchi for your potato. That was very not expected
Mhm.
outside the box. So cool.
Tell us the name of that cookbook again.
Yeah, it's called Foolproof Vegetarian One Pot. And we do have it in the collection, but I had to return it, so I can't display it this time, but it's a good one.
Yeah, that's a very cool technique of setting up the cookbook.
Yeah,
That way.
yeah, I liked it a lot. So, Beth, tell us about your potatoes.
All right, well, potatoes, there's so many ways to make potatoes, but I decided to go with something. I wanted to see what I had in a cookbook of my own. Well, this is Deb Perelman. Was it Perelman? Perelman? Anyway, I think I got this from the friends of the library, unless sometimes people like Katie bring in cookbooks that they don't want. I don't know if this was yours, but anyway, I've had it for a while.
Say the name of it, Beth. What's the name?
It's just the Smitten Kitchen cookbook. I think it's her first one. So okay, it's a very simple recipe. It's just called baked potato crisps with the work. So simple, but it's a little bit fussy. In that you slice 3 russet potatoes, and I have to say I was very proud of how I followed the instructions and was super careful about slicing. It was too thick for a mandolin, so, or at least the one I have, so I was conscientious about not measuring it, but doing pretty well with that. So that's good for me. The other thing that she does is you take 2 large baking pans, line them with foil, and rub cold butter on it. Typically, when I'm putting something in the oven, I use paper stuff and sorry, and also spray it typically. So I think that made a difference because it was buttery on the bottom. And then you brush on melted butter on each one. So it makes about 14 slices per potato. It was about that. It was kind of more, I think. I was fitting them on. So anyway, brush butter on, salt, pepper, roast for 25 to 30 minutes until golden brown on the bottom, flip, roast again for 10 minutes. There's also the works, which she says cheese is optional, but not in my world, not with potatoes, not today. But anyway, so grated cheese, I had white cheddar. We also had crumbled bacon already, or I made some bacon ahead of time, so that was already in the fridge. So that made it fun and easy. And then it also calls for a cup of not ice cream, sour cream. I'm a big sour cream fan, but I didn't need an entire cup. I mean, because you're just putting a little dollop on it, and the bacon crumbles and chives. So, and here's a picture. Ended up that it became an appetizer for our dinner, and it was kind of it's in the chapter of having a cocktail party. But when I looked at it, I was like, well, that makes a fine side dish, but it worked out. It was a side dish that we had ahead of our other one. So it was, and I would make it again. It was just like little baked potato bites. Super simple, in concept, but very tasty and pretty filling too.
Sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
So you have your little potato sliced rounds and you put them on your baking sheet. Are you leaving them like sort of so they're individual rounds, or are you
Yeah.
stacking them kind of on
Yeah,
top?
individual, you lay them out
Okay,
individually.
so they end up being like little individual potato discs?
Yeah, here's a picture of Deb's, but it doesn't have all the works on it
Okay,
yet.
got it. Cool.
Yeah,
That sounds
yeah.
really tasty. I would eat
Yeah,
that.
it was really good. It was definitely something that you could have for when you have people over, and it's not that hard. When I say fussy, it's just like dollop, 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 but it was
Mhm.
fine
It
because
sounds really good,
yeah,
honestly. I
yeah.
wonder, so you just made it for you and Kurt, did you like how would you plate it? Would you like lay them on a plate in like a circle, do you think?
Yeah, I'd lay them out,
Okay.
already dolloped
Yeah.
on a tray, or
Okay.
like you could even have those with, say, another like poppers on a platter or something.
Sure.
So many options. Just,
Sounds
pour
yummy.
some goat cheese sauce on it. That's not a bad idea either.
Be
But
good.
anyway, so yeah, that was good, and I hope y'all share it with your loved ones because it's a good way to have potatoes. And it
Hmm.
was even, pretty warm out, but
Mm.
now that I have new insulation, it wasn't hot in my house. So anyway, Miss Katie, what did you make this time?
Okay, so the recipe that I am sharing today is for torn and fried potatoes with aioli. This recipe is from America's Test Kitchen, and my husband found it on their YouTube channel. So I'll include the link to the YouTube video on my recipe. The recipe starts with making the aioli, which I've never actually done. So I've made an aioli before, but not this one and not with this particular recipe, but it is how they start. And it's really simple. It's just an egg, lemon juice, garlic, salt, sugar, cayenne pepper, all in your food processor. And then you add oil to emulsify it and you get, what is essentially a fancy mayonnaise. And I'm sure it's lovely with this, but I had other things going on. The real star of this recipe is definitely the potatoes. So you take 2.5 pounds of russet potatoes that you've washed and poked with a fork. You bake them for 400 degrees at 400 degrees for an hour and 20 minutes or until they're easily pierced. Then you let them cool at room temperature for 2 hours. And then you have to refrigerate them for at least 3 hours. So what I've done when I've made this is bake the potatoes, let them sit for 2 hours, and then put them in the fridge overnight, and then actually make the potatoes the next day. So once you have your refrigerated potatoes, then you get to the fun part, which is to tear the potatoes with your hands into 1.5-inch pieces. And so you're just tearing these refrigerated potatoes apart. And it's super easy and you don't have to be perfect. They come out in all different shapes and sizes. You do, after you do this a couple times, realize that there is a bit of a technique to it, like trying to keep some of the skin on each part of the potato, but you really there is no absolute, you can do it however you want to. Just tear them up into pieces. And then you heat a quart of vegetable oil. I used peanut oil because that's what I had. I needed to use it up and it worked great. But they say vegetable oil, heat it up 350 degrees in a Dutch oven on your stove. And this is my favorite part because you add all of the potatoes and turn the heat up to high. So I hate batch frying. I think it's so tedious and I just never do it. But I loved that you were just taking all of them, you're throwing them into your Dutch oven, and you just cook it for 13 to 15 minutes, just stirring occasionally until they're golden brown. And you remove them, it says, to a paper towel lined tray, but I used a cooling rack and a baking sheet, and I've got a picture of what they look like when they come out. You just season with salt and enjoy. And these fried potatoes are magical. They're so good. I think 2.5 pounds of russet potatoes. I think Andy and I ate these and there were not leftovers. So yeah, real good. You should try this. It's delicious.
That's wild.
Yeah, it is. And it's
That's
it's
yeah.
just salt and pepper and potatoes.
And then
Not
did you
even
dip in
butter?
the aioli?
Oh, the
So-
aioli, yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
right.
so there's the aioli, which is an option. I think we were just using ketchup, but honestly, like just with salt, fried potatoes are so good that I sometimes like don't even need to dip them in anything, but I think we were just using ketchup. Honestly, they were yeah, no pepper even, just salt, potatoes.
Okay, and you stir it up while it's on high?
Well,
Or on
you
the-
just stir it a little bit
Okay,
occasionally while they're frying so that they
I
don't
see.
like stick to each other.
Gotcha. Interesting. I look forward just to actually seeing it. It sounds like something you would do. Well, what's 3 pounds of, what is it, like 4 potatoes
I think it
or
was
more?
2 large potatoes actually.
Okay,
So
so
they
that's
were
not
like
a,
bigger.
I was imagining like a bag of
It's
potatoes,
not
but
a
yeah,
ton. It's like it's 2 big potatoes, but I mean, I don't generally eat like a giant potato with my dinner either. So
yeah,
something
yeah.
about frying and salting them makes it possible.
Very interesting technique.
Yeah, the tearing is really wild too. That's not something I've ever heard of. So cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's, you know what? That sounds like possibly a good thing to do when you're camping. Maybe. I haven't camped in a couple
Don't know how
years.
you would get a quart of frying liquid while you were
Oh,
that might be a little bit difficult. But
well, maybe, yeah.
I do think like tearing up the potatoes and stuff would be fun for kids.
Yes, that's what I
Um,
was thinking too. Yeah.
But I think that there's a time and a place for it just because you do need to have the giant vat of frying liquid. But
Yeah.
it does make me want to do that just a little bit more often for sure.
Yeah. Cool. That's awesome.
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for watching Recipe Share, and be sure to click the link below to look at the event page on aadl.org to find the recipes we talked about and to share your own in the comments. Join us next time and we will be talking about standout sides. We're looking forward to we're looking forward to seeing what you've been making, so thanks for sharing.
Recipe share, recipe share, share a little recipe with Recipe Share.